Okay, in this video I am going to be showing you how to MayaStarize a skeleton that is using, or an avatar that is using custom bone positions. This happens way more often with male avatars versus female avatars. In fact, I've never known a single female avatar from a dev kit that was using anything other than the neutral bone positions, the default positions. The male avatars, it seems to be 50-50 that I've run across. And so I'm going to demonstrate using Belleza Jake how to do it. So although this may not work for every male avatar or every avatar, it depends on how the DAE was created. But if it was created like Jake, and you'll see, you'll be able to do it. Okay, so first, we're going to do the dev kit import. And the one thing we will not be doing is we're not going to be doing dev kit prepper. If you do dev kit prepper, it's going to reset the bones to the neutral bones positions, and you'll lose all your custom bone positions. So do not do dev kit prepper. You may have to figure it out how to get the avatar to the small size and facing the correct direction. But if you can figure that out, because each, like I said, I don't know every dev kit provider. I can't control how they make their DAEs. I can't. So this method may not work for all avatars. I know it won't, because I know if you do it out of Blender, if the DAE was made with Blender, chances are it's not going to. But this is just an option for you to try if you can. Okay, so we're going to do number one, import the DAE. There it is, Jake. Okay, and you notice he came in really big. Okay, now the first thing you should do is open up your outliner, and then you want to select the M pelvis bone and select the hierarchy, and you want to look at the timeline down here. You want to look for vertical red lines that indicate keyframes, because more and more dev kit providers are providing files that have animations in them, and you have to delete those keyframes so that they don't interfere with the MayaStarizer, because the MayaStarizer imports its own animations, and so if there's animations already there, it messes it up. So so if you want, you can make this like 600 and really look to see if there's any red vertical lines. I know there isn't any there. I don't see any, so we're good to go. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is you want to select the mesh, and you see it has a skin cluster, so it's rigged. And what you want to do is you want to detach the skin. And when you detach the skin, you want to be watching the mesh to see if it changes shape. So I'm going to tear this off and move this over here, and I'm going to detach the skin. But when I do, watch the mesh and see if it changes shape. And you can tell if it's rigged or not. Come on, get out of there. You can tell if it's rigged or not because it has a skin cluster. So here we go. I'm going to detach the skin. Nothing changed. Nothing moved at all. And if I hit Control Z, it will bring back the skin cluster and it will attach it to the skeleton. And when you Control Z, you can keep an eye on the mesh again, and nothing moved. Okay, so what that tells us that this mesh was rigged to the bones in these exact locations and rotations and scales. I believe this mesh actually has a slightly different scale on the chest than the default male avatar. So that also is super important. And so it didn't change shape. Now, if it changes shape, it's one of two things. Either the mesh was not rigged to those bones in those locations, rotations, and scales. which means those aren't the bones positions that you want to rig to. Okay, because you always want to rig your mesh clothing to the same exact bone locations and bind pose as in scales and as the body was rigged to. Okay, so that's one option, one possibility of why the mesh changes shape. The other possibility that I just found out a couple of days ago is the DAE could have been exported out of Blender using MayaStar, and that when they exported it out, they accidentally had different slider settings set when they exported it than they were when it was originally rigged. Okay, and that I know has happened in the past. I just came across that with another dev kit that I was helping a customer with, or a MayaStar user with, and it turned out that the reason it was changing shape was when they exported out their DAE, they accidentally had a couple of sliders set to a different slider setting. Now, MayaStar doesn't matter what the slider settings are. When you export out a DAE, it's going to export out just fine, just normal. It's not going to reshape the mesh. But MayaStar, when you export out, the slider settings get baked into the mesh. MayaStar likes it reshapes the mesh, so it's a different shape, which I don't know why they did that, but they did for some reason. So the shape of the mesh actually gets baked into it. I didn't think that happened with MayaStar. There's a button underneath the sliders that says bake sliders. I thought that's the only time that would happen, is if you press that button, and then it would bake it right then and there. But I guess it bakes it automatically when you export out your DAE. Now I'm using an older version of MayaStar. Maybe they don't do that on newer versions. But anyway, that's what happened. That's what happened with this other dev kit provider who created their own DAE or had somebody else create their DAE. And so, anyway, so that's the other possibility. It could be the right bone positions, but just the wrong shape body when it's not rigged. So, anyway, and the other thing you might want to do is after you detach the skin is export out the unrigged shape as an OBJ. And I've already done that, so I'm not going to do that again just to save time. Okay, so the next step. Okay, the next step is we want to open up the outliner and select the pelvis. And I'm going to expand the whole skeleton. And we notice over here, the scales are not 1, 1, and 1. And the translate isn't where it's supposed to be. It's actually like 100 times bigger. So we need to move the decimal point over 2 places. No, 1 place. Yeah, 2 places. So it's 1.067015. Okay. So what you want to do, and like I said, you can check these to make sure they're all 1, 1, 1, 1. It's only the M pelvis, and that's why the avatar is so big. So we need to make it smaller. So you just come here, select the first one, shift, click the third one, and just put in the number 1 and hit enter. And I'm going to hit F on the keyboard. Now you can see he's not standing on the grid. So we want to come here and we'll delete that decimal point, put that decimal point there, and now he is standing on the grid. Okay, so that's the next step. The step after that is we want to do custom bind pose, because if we don't go to custom bind pose, he'll pop back up where he was before. So we're going to go MayaStar skin weight tools, custom bind pose, create custom bind pose. There. Okay. Now just to make sure that nothing moved I'm going to import that OBJ that I told you I exported already. Here's Jake for video. And of course, when I export it out, he was big. I'm going to create a Lambert, or a blend, I'm sorry. Make him shiny. And I'm going to change the color just so that you can really see the difference. Okay, now we need to make him 100 times smaller, so that's 0.01. And that's absolutely perfect. That's what you want to see, is the flickering. Even flickering. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so we know he didn't change shape. I'm going to put him on, since it's, let's see which, yeah, see that's the, okay, this is the one that's not rigged. You see it's not rigged? Hold down the shift key and drag. That's the one that is rigged. Skin cluster. Okay, so, oh, the skin cluster, oops. Come on. Oh, I was getting the bone, that's why. There we go. Okay, so 0.01, I'm going to create a layer. We have a layer. I want to hide him. Okay. So now we can MayaStarize. So we can go Maya. And we can come here to MayaStarizer. Male bento. MayaStarize dev kit. It comes in. Okay. Came in. He's in the T pose, but it's real easy to get him to his bind pose. Just go to bind pose. That's why we did that. And we can show that, and everything is still perfect. And we can open up our male appearance editors, and we can play with the body fat. And we have the different sizes. Okay, we can go to bind pose. That's the bind pose. You got the different bodybuilders. Oh, what's this error? Oh, okay. So what's going on here is he doesn't have eyeballs. So it's given us an error. That's why. Because he doesn't have the full head. He's missing quite a bit. That's what why we're getting those errors. Okay. And we can go to bind pose. Okay. So yeah, yeah, you can take a look at the legs, and somebody's been skipping leg day at the gym. Let's see, so but yeah, so this is has all the animations. Let's go to animations and poses. We can do male walk. And it's all there. And to get back to the bind pose, oh, and then you do have, you could still do, let's see, those poses are still there. I wonder if I use the standard, do I have the standard A pose? Oh, come on, tear this off. 30 degrees, 45. Nope, slightly different. And you can just tell by going like that. That's 30. And that's 5. Okay, and I have double checked this. This is as accurate as the one that as they gave us. You know, you can rig to the avatar when it's big, you know, and it has no animations, it has no connections to the slider. When you import it, you can rig to it, you know, but it'd be hard to test it. It's good to have the appearance sliders so you can make them fat and really see how your weighting is affected, how well it's rigged. So whenever you're rigging anything, the best way to tell it when you're weight painting or adjusting the weights after you copy the weights over is to come in here and increase the body fat as big as it will go. That will show you exactly, because if by changing the scales you can see how the weighting is affecting your rigging. If you don't change the scales, then the mesh doesn't change from its initial bind pose, you know, initial settings. It's just like when you unrigged the mesh body. When we unrigged the mesh body from the skeleton, the bones weren't actually influencing the mesh at all. So you need to see the bones influencing the mesh to know whether or not how well it's rigged and to be able to adjust it. So yeah. So, but yep. And this is what he looks like in Second Life. And when you do the fat. So let's see. Actually, this is what he looks like in Second Life. When you put him to 100% fat with the default shape. So, okay, let's go back to bind pose, and you can save this. You can save this, and it's ready to go. It will not save the bind pose if you do this method where you import it into an existing scene. Pretty sure. Let's check just to be on the safe side. Okay, so you normally would save that. I'm not going to save it. Okay, so we would MayaStar. See, let's try this method, see how accurate it is. Male bento. Okay, then we import the DAE and turn off use namespaces. I know that if you have namespaces turned on, it will not bring in the bind pose for sure. So let's try. There, it imported. And I can already tell that's not the right bind pose. So import. Jake for video. Oh, he's big. We can assign our existing blend. I thought we had a blend. Or did I forget oh, that's right, I started a brand new scene. Duh. I started a brand new scene, that's why. Yeah, and you can see this is the bottom of the legs look fine. But everything else is off. Big time. So even if we go MayaStar, go to bind pose, yeah, it loses it. I think it's because the skeleton already has is already connected to the sliders. So the sliders, since they work on scales, they already have incoming connections, so that when the new scales that are coming in with the new bind pose, it's not getting those scales, and that's why it's off. So yeah, you can only use this method up here. You can't use the other method. So, but anyway, okay, so that's video. I hope this really helps out there, and yeah, we'll just keep on trying new things and coming up with solutions. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon and see you in the next video.